Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're tackling something I know a lot of you have been asking about, the muscle loss myth. We're going to look straight at the fears surrounding prolonged fasting. Specifically, does a 5-day water fast actually destroy all that hard-earned muscle? Let's find out. Right off the bat, this is the ultimate question, isn't it? I mean, it's pretty much the deepest fear for anyone who cares about their fitness. You spend months, maybe literally years, dialing in your protein, lifting heavy, grinding to build that skeletal muscle. So the idea of just voluntarily not eating for 120 hours? Yeah, it sounds like absolute metabolic self-sabotage. But to figure out what's really happening when the food stops, we kind of have to ignore the gym bro myths and look at what the actual clinical data reveals. And honestly, when you first look at that data, it can be absolutely terrifying. Studies frequently report that up to 60% of the initial weight you lose during a 5-day fast is measured as quote-unquote lean mass. Just let that sink in for a second. That means for every 10 pounds you see drop on the scale, the data makes it look like 6 of those pounds are coming straight from your lean tissue. If you just take that number at face value, it sounds like a complete disaster for your physique, right? To give you a clear picture of just how alarming this can seem, take a look at the massive difference in this PLOS-1 study. Participants who were tracked through a 5-day water fast saw a 3.18 kilogram decrease in lean body mass, but their fat mass, that only dropped by a tiny 1.07 kilograms. I mean, on a spreadsheet, losing 3 times as much lean tissue as fat tissue looks like a total failure. But, and this is a massive but, here's where we have to get incredibly precise about our definitions, because this data absolutely does not mean what you probably think it means. See, this entire muscle loss myth comes from a huge misunderstanding of body composition. When your standard bathroom scale, or even some fancy clinical scanners, measure lean mass, they are not just measuring your active, flexing skeletal muscle. Not even close. Lean mass is basically just a catch-all category for everything in your body that isn't fat or bone. Crucially, that includes water and stored carbs, which we call glycogen. So when you stop eating, your insulin drops, telling your kidneys to flush out water and sodium. Bam. Shedding 5 pounds of water weight shows up on your scale as 5 pounds of lean tissue lost. It makes you feel like you've completely deflated overnight, but the reality, you haven't lost a single ounce of actual muscle fiber. To really grasp this, let's walk through the actual physiological timeline of a 5-day fast. Right out of the gate on day 1, you hit what we call the glycogen dump. Your body is literally just emptying its fuel tank, burning through whatever stored carbs you have left. And since every single gram of glycogen holds on to about 3 grams of water, well, depleting those stores means a massive, rapid whoosh of water weight. Then, days 2 and 3, that's your adaptation phase. Your body is frantically figuring out how to switch over to burning fat for fuel. By days 4 and 5, you're coasting into deep cellular repair and immune regeneration. So that crazy weight you drop on days 1 and 2, it's really just the biological cost of admission. And what's really fascinating here is how the PLOS-1 data backs this exact phenomenon up. Researchers took a deep dive into the physiological responses to a 5-day fast. They tracked that massive initial weight drop, sure, but they also kept a close eye on basal energy expenditure and other metabolic markers. Their conclusion? Well, aligning with broader clinical consensus, they found that this huge initial plunge is mostly just a shift in hydration and glycogen depletion. It is so incredibly easy to mistake this for losing actual muscle, but studies show the vast majority of this quote-unquote lean mass bounces right back almost the second you start refeeding and your tissues rehydrate. Okay, so how exactly does the body defend your real hard-earned muscle tissue while you aren't eating? Well, enter the biological hero of this whole explainer, human growth hormone, or HGH. Right around the 72-hour mark of a fast, your body pulls off this massive, brilliant hormonal shift. Because your blood sugar is low and you're fully transitioning into a fat-burning machine, your pituitary gland just cranks up the HGH production. Clinical studies confirm that this fasting-induced surge isn't random. It serves a highly specific protective function. It actively shields your skeletal muscle from being cannibalized for energy. And this brilliantly illustrates an evolutionary concept known as protein sparing. Just think about our hunter-gatherer ancestors for a second. If they didn't eat for 3 days and their bodies just immediately started eating their own muscle tissue, they'd get too weak to ever hunt again. Our species literally would not have survived. Instead, we are biologically hardwired to trigger this protein-sparing state when food is scarce. Your body smartly switches over to burning body fat via ketones, while hormonal bodyguards like HGH swoop in to lock down and preserve your active calorie-burning muscle. But listen, biology is only half the equation here.
Yes, your hormones are working overtime to protect your gains, but true muscle atrophy can still happen if you just sit around doing absolutely nothing or if you completely deplete your minerals. To safely navigate a prolonged fast without losing your strength, you can't just lay on the couch and hope for the best. You actually have to follow a specific behavioral protocol. You need to actively send physical signals to your central nervous system shouting, "Hey, I still need the skeletal muscle to survive."
So what does that look like? It translates into a really straightforward 4-step protocol. Step 1 is light resistance training. Not maxing out, just enough to signal your body that those muscles are still in use, which supercharges that protein-sparing effect. Step 2 is all about replenishing your electrolytes. Remember how your kidneys are flushing out all that water and sodium? You have to supplement sodium, potassium, and magnesium, or you are going to feel absolutely miserable with fatigue and cramps. Step 3 is a super careful reverse diet when you break the fast. And finally, Step 4, hold off on lifting heavy until day 8. That post-fast anabolic window is prime time to funnel nutrients straight back into those hungry muscles.
Now, that refeeding phase we just mentioned, that is absolutely crucial. It's where most people mess up. Take a look at the specific actions here. Clinical evidence highly recommends breaking your fast with just 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein. It gently repairs the muscle without spiking your insulin through the roof. From there, you have to slowly increase your calories over the next 5 to 7 days. This prevents what we call the adaptation trap. See, during a 5-day fast, your basal metabolic rate dips slightly to conserve energy. If you dive headfirst back into your normal maintenance calories on day 6, you're suddenly eating in a massive surplus, and your body is going to eagerly store all that extra energy straight as fat. Which brings us to a golden rule of metabolic optimization. You simply cannot manage what you do not measure. If you tackle a prolonged fast and only use a basic bathroom scale to gauge your success, it's just going to tell you, hey, you lost 10 pounds. But it absolutely cannot tell you if you lost dangerous visceral fat or if you just dumped a bunch of water weight while accidentally burning off the muscle you spent years building. Relying on a basic scale is literally flying blind.
To truly know if your behavioral protocols actually worked, you need real clinical data. And that is the huge advantage of getting a DEXA scan. It establishes a true, rock-solid baseline by actually differentiating between your bone, your fat, and your lean soft tissue. It even reveals your exact resting metabolic rate, so you know exactly how many calories you need during your refeed. But here is the critical part. You have to wait at least 7 days post-fast to get your follow-up scan. Why? Because you have to give your body enough time to fully rehydrate and pack those glycogen stores back up. That wait completely strips away all the noise of water fluctuation and reveals your true, actual fat loss.
So, when we zoom out and look at the actual clinical data, it completely shatters the myth. That massive initial weight drop, it's not muscle, it's water and glycogen. Our bodies are incredibly smart and actively defend our lean tissue using a massive surge of growth hormone. And by using light resistance training alongside a really careful refeeding protocol, we can safely navigate a prolonged fast and perfectly preserve our strength. So, now that you know the biological secret behind the process, are you ready to apply it, measure your own real data, and see what you're really made of?